With that, I wanted to carry our conversation into the patrons a little bit because, one of the major talking points is Game Pass, and I think that'll carry us back into the exclusive talk a little bit more. So this one comes from Anthony J. Sanchez. He says, "Hey, Maddie and Dustin, while Sony is doubling down on first-party exclusives, I believe they are making a huge mistake. The games are great, yes, but service-based models like Game Pass are the future of the industry. This reminds me of movies transitioning from a rent or buy model to now having a streaming option. It's getting harder and harder for me to justify purchasing games when Game Pass allows me to pay one monthly price so I can properly budget my finances. I really think if PlayStation doesn't step up their game and come out with something better than PS Now, they may be in for a third place this generation." Wow. Oh. How about a retro subscription service from Sony, where we could essentially download any game from the PS1 to PS3 era? Is that too much to ask for? Thanks, from sunny Florida, Anthony. So yeah, a lot to take in here. I don't know if Anthony's out of pocket a little bit here for suggesting a third place at the beginning of the generation. But I do think there is some truth here in the identifying a trend, right? And I think Xbox's trend just hit at the right time. They've been investing in Game Pass for about 4 years now. We're here in the middle of a pandemic, hopefully coming out of it very soon, of course. But you, of course, saw the financial limitations those brought, the jobs that were lost, and people still will struggle afterwards. And even if they're not, Xbox, of course, is presenting that option where you can have something. We'll see if they continue to press it. But right now, Outriders is our best example of, hey, you don't got to spend $70 or $60 and find out if this is worth your time. You can try it. And so that's really hard to fight back against. But Microsoft certainly has the money to do that. So let's start off with a PlayStation Game Pass. I know there was a clip on the Last Stand Media channel. So for those who want like Colin and Chris's take alongside that, feel free to check that out. But with PlayStation having their own Game Pass, do you envision it something like Anthony suggested, like a bit of a retro service? Because when I saw that, I went, man, that'd be actually really cool, because it's not directly the competitor of let's go out and get the big new game, but adding in that nostalgia to your library, because that's something PlayStation's always lacked on. And now we're seeing them, as you mentioned at the beginning of our show, shut down the Vita store. And there's been rumors, I don't know where they've been sourced from, but there have been rumors that they are going to do some type of backwards compatibility thing, and that's why they're shutting down those stores. So those rumors aside, do you think a retro service could be a good competitor, or do you think they need a Game Pass that sort of fights against what Xbox is directly doing?
I don't think a retro service would be a good direct competitor, but I think it would be a good product, especially well just because I think Xbox is starting to get a glimmer of nostalgia factor, though I think that they've kind of tainted that with the fact that their most popular series have never gone away. They've just always hung around and gone through ups and downs. But Sony really does have that that nostalgia factor, and they have so many legacy IP and games to pull from that a retro service does sound like something, at least I know I would be very interested in, for sure. I don't think it would have the same broad appeal that a Game Pass does. And Maddie, kind of something I wanted to ask you about also is just that there's been a lot of conversation right now. People are talking about PlayStation. Jim Ryan in the past said they would have some kind of answer to Game Pass. We don't know what he meant by that, but it is true that Sony does have a competing service to Game Pass called PlayStation Now. Now, we've talked about on the Last Stand Media channel numerous times that we think PlayStation Now, the streaming aspect of it, is trash, like real bad, which is what's interesting. I shouldn't be too hard, because I did have someone message me just the other day saying how great they thought it was. And I'm like, I don't know if that's because I'm more sensitive to latency and overall visual fidelity, like compression, but I was like, there is no reality for me where PlayStation Now is acceptable. But that doesn't undermine the opinion of this guy that messaged me. Because if it works for him, then fantastic. But in addition to their streaming service, PlayStation Now, they have the download option. And every time I go in there, I'm always pleasantly surprised by the diversity of that catalog and the games they do have. I wouldn't say that it is anywhere near as good as Game Pass, especially with Xbox really hitting home on new stuff now from both the AAA and the indie space. But I would say that it is comparable in a lot of ways. It gets you, if you are, new to the ecosystem, or there is quite a few games that you want to play, you're going to find a lot of value from PlayStation Now and the download service. So part of me wonders if what Sony's solution is just a total revamp of PlayStation Now and what that offers. Now, Maddie, I don't know. What is your experience with PlayStation Now? Do you see that as something that they can finagle into some kind of competitor?
I used it a couple of years ago, and this is well before I was like knee deep in the Xbox Game Pass value spiel.
Right.
I wasn't impressed with it back then, so I don't have really a current opinion on it. Because when I was in there, I trust your opinion. You saying that the library has grown and it's a little more pleasantly surprising. But when I was in there was stuff like Tekken, and then there was Farming Sim, and I love Tekken, but I'm saying that there was I know some people say it's about Game Pass, and it's totally fair, but it truly felt like most of the games on PS Now I had played, and the ones that were there, the kind of offshoot ones, the lower budget titles or whatever, just did not look good or interest me. Like I said, something like a Farming Sim, I know that scratches a certain itch for people. For me, it did not. My friends and I downloaded it kind of as a joke. What I was thinking is, as you were talking there, it's clear PlayStation's trying to figure something out. And if people deny that, just take a look at this. You've got PS Now, which I think they had the right idea, right? They were trending in a direction. I think they were just ahead of the curve. And I think streaming wasn't ready. And it's still really, in a lot of ways, isn't ready for what they envisioned. So maybe down the line, PS Now can develop into something, but you've got that. You've got the PS Plus games per month, which is developing its own reputation. You've got the PS Plus collection. Now you've got Play at Home. Like, they're kind of just handing out games under all these different brands. And I'm starting to wonder what I think, like Play at Home. To me, it speaks as, let's give the fans something now, right? Something that they can have now in response to what's happening with Xbox, right? Each week they've given away like 10 games. Some of them have been really solid games, and that's awesome. On top of our PS Plus collection and PS Plus, they are getting great value there. Is it Game Pass value? No, but it's still good. Like, you're getting a ton of freebies. That's good on them. But it's clear they're trying to figure something out in the meantime. So while PS Now did not impress me, and I'm the same way, right? I'm not even as hardcore of a visual guy as maybe you are, and I can tolerate some choked up frame rate. For God's sakes, when I reviewed Fallout 76, I put like 80 hours into it on PS4, no less. Like, I lived. So I think I have a higher tolerance for that, but even I wasn't a big fan of playing those games on PS Now, sorry. And so ultimately, my experience wasn't a positive one. And when I downloaded games, there were things that I wasn't interested in now. But once again, older library, so that could be subject to change. The pricing point is the other thing. I forgot how much it is a month. Do you know exactly the price for PS Now monthly?
Let's see. I have the PlayStation Now website open right now.
There we go.
For 12 months, if you buy in advance, it is $60 a year. So that's $5 a month.
Okay, so it's cheaper than a year of Game Pass. So that does play a factor, I would say.
Right. If you buy a big difference. Month to month, it's $10. So that's a little closer.
So it is a little closer, but even then, and of course it matters what part of Game Pass you're rolled in. If you're just on console, for example, then it'll be $10, but Ultimate covers everything and plus gold. So that's $15, and that will run you up more. But that does make a difference. Saying, hey, I paid the price of one game and you've got that service all year, that is a little easier, I would say, to swallow. But this is an episode of long-winded answers. That's kind of where I stand on PS Now. I got to say, I love this retro service idea. I would love to see them do something like that, because PlayStation doesn't really like nostalgia. I was telling Colin this. I've realized they just kind of have no problem leaving things in the past, where you're seeing Xbox. A lot of people talk about rare IP being left in the past, but for the most part, we're seeing Perfect Dark come back, Fable's coming back. You're seeing them, like, Avowed's a new IP, but they're mostly cycling in some old stuff with new minds on it. Where PlayStation's like, fuck Killzone, do Horizon, you know, that type of thing. And Resistance is gone. We're doing Spider-Man now. And I respect that a lot, but I wish there was a way to preserve that and get in touch with that when I wanted to, because they're still amazing games. So I would love to see something along those lines.